Next up will be the pretty Renaissance town of TELC. The first thing that becomes very evident about the UNESCO World Heritage List at TELC in South Moravia is that this castle-topped old town seems to be completely surrounded by ponds. It is, 3 of them, which through the centuries have been joined by parklands, which provide relaxing green surrounds from which to admire the old fortifications that served to help protect the ancient centre during fierce religious wars between Catholics and Reformers at various times between the 15th and the 17th centuries. If you enter through the smaller lower gate below the castle complex, you'll begin your visit from the site where the Moravian Duke Otto II established his claim after a decisive victory over a Bohemian duke in 1099. Otto established first a chapel, later a church, and then a community, which is the old town that we see today. The revered Czech king Charles IV took over the town in 1335 and exchanged it for another property with Henry of Hradec, who eventually divided his vast holdings among his 5 sons, referred to as the Lords of the Roses. It was this family that built the castle, church, water fortification and Gothic houses around the large marketplace. However, the town then suffered from late 14th century fires and early 15th century attacks by the Hussite religious reformers. By the late 15th century, the town had recovered and was granted privileges such as being able to hold fairs, to brew beer and to sell salt. Under Zacharias of Hradec, the TELC estate and both the town and castle enjoyed a period of prosperity. The Gothic castle was renovated and joined to a chateau in the Renaissance style. Italian workmen invited to the castle also helped the burghers to rebuild the Gothic dwellings into the neat houses with attractive facades and arcades that we witness in TELC today. At the top end and next to the castle are the schools, churches and monastery buildings dating from the arrival of the Jesuits in the early 17th century. This lower gate dates from 1579, when it replaced the original Gothic gate that had been complete with a drawbridge across the moat. Each small building tells a story, from the former 1576 castle granary, now a library, down the line of pretty burgher houses, including the former smithery with a stone gateway and which has served as a savings bank since 1883. And the house of the 16th century baker Macau, who later became mayor. It's a house adorned with Old Testament figures. Looking down from the Jesuit church along the right-hand side of the town, there's another line of merchant houses which reaches the Renaissance Town Hall from 1574. Close to the town hall on the next corner is an interesting burgher's house with bay window, attic and facade decorations from the middle of the 16th century which depict biblical scenes including the crucifixion, Saul and David and justice. TELC also has fountains. The lower fountain comes from the time of Zacharias of Hradec, who originally erected a wooden fountain. The stone version dates from 1611. The statue of the town's patron, St. Margaret, comes from the middle of the 17th century. Up further is another fountain. Its current look dates from 1827 and depicts Silenus, tutor to the Greek god of wine and ritual madness Dionysus, who is being held protected in his arms. In the centre there's the Plague Column, or Marian Column, with the Virgin Mary at the top. It dates from 1720, and in the cave are depicted St. Rosalie and Mary Magdalene, with several saints including St. John of Nepomuc and Francis Xavier at the base of the column. Behind the last fountain is the former kitchen that was established for military officers in 1655, and where sweet porridge was also served to the poor. The church tower behind is the oldest building in TELC. As a Romanesque structure, it was a watchtower. It was remodeled into its Gothic style in the late 15th century. It now belongs to the Protestant Czech Brethren as the Church of the Holy Spirit. So now we look back on the vista of the old town, so rich in history and Renaissance splendour. At the edge of the town is another town gate, built in the second half of the 16th century. Looking from the outside, above the gateway, a 5-petalled rose depicting the Lords of Hradec can be seen, along with the year 1629, which is believed to have been the year when the ramparts and the gate had been repaired. Looking across the pond towards the town, St. John of Nepomuk, patron saint of bridges, appears in the foreground of a wonderful view of the ramparts which served to preserve this amazing town of TELC.